We are going to create a simple Python dictionary-based password cracker. Now, I would encourage you try this exercise on your own before watching me walk through it. I'll show you my approach and I will go through the code, but if you just watch me, follow along with me, and you don't try to struggle through it yourself and try to put all the pieces together, it's not going to be a great learning exercise. This is going to incorporate a lot of skills that we've built using different data types. We have to use variables. We have to use comparison, control flow structures with if, elif, else, that kind of stuff. We'll need to write functions and import libraries. So it can be challenging to put all of these pieces together. So here is the goal. You will create a program that will crack passwords using a dictionary attack. The password hash you need to crack is that right there. The password hash is SHA-256. The password is the name of a sport. Okay. And as a requirement, put your first and last name as one of the elements in the dictionary. It's not going to crack it, but it'll be there in the source code. So some hints to get started. How should we approach this? We're going to need the hashing library. We're going to need to create a list. We need to store the target hash as a variable. We'll go through our list, calculate the hash, and check if we've cracked that hash or not. All right, let's get started. How do we get started? Well, I know in the lessons, when we were importing libraries, there was some sample code there to compute hashes. So I'm going to scroll down and find it. Hashing items in a list. Okay, so this was similar. That's the right library. I'm going to copy that code. I'll create a new Python file. I'll call this crack1.py. And I'm going to paste in that code almost as a reference. I'm going to have to modify it quite a bit, but that's fine. Just using that, that's going to help me. So I'm going to go back to the dictionary instructions. All right, there is the target right there. I'm going to copy that. And I'll make a new variable. Let me hide all that stuff so I can see my code better. Target equals quote, Control V, paste. There's the target hash. So when I have hashed something that produces that, I will have found whatever password was used to create that. So that's good. Good start. I need a dictionary. Call it words. One of them will be my name. Now sports. Tennis, golf. I'll start there. I can make that dictionary bigger later if I want to, just by adding more elements to that list. I'm going to change this code just a little bit. So I imported the hashing library. Good. I stored the list of sports in a variable. I added my name to that list. Good. Store the target hash as a variable. Did that. Create a loop that goes through each sport in my list. Okay, so for word in words, you could call it for sport in sports, as long as that matches the name of your list. Yours does not have to be exactly the same as mine. If different naming conventions help you, that's great. I'm going to delete that password equals watermelon. I'm going to indent this code here. So I called it word instead of password. I'm going to rename those variables just to get rid of the errors. Now, I could try to do the whole program all at once, or I could just run this right now and see if it actually works so far. So what should this do? This should loop through my words and print the output for each word, the hash, the word and the hash. So I'm going to run it. And does it work as expected? I'm going to make this a little bit wider so it doesn't wrap so badly. It's okay. Not terrible. I do see, I'm going to run it again now that I made my screen a little bit wider. That's good. So I see there's me and the hash of my first and last name. I see the hash of tennis. I see the hash of golf. So none of those hashes matches, but they don't match the target, but I am on the right track. I'm hashing the words in my dictionary. So I'm going to create an if statement here. So if, I don't like the scrolling, output equals target, that means I found it. Print. I'll use an F string. Got it. Word is output. Then I'll want to break out of my loop because I don't need to keep hashing everything in my dictionary. What if it's not? And there's lots of ways to solve this problem. Here's how I'm going to do it. Else print it's not word. There's a bug in my code. What's the bug in my code? Can you see it? It's not that hard to fix. Notice how word is highlighted differently on line 13 here than it is in line 10. See if you can spot that bug. Quick fix. It's because I didn't put the F there to tell Python that this is an F string. All right. I'll run this now. Look at my output. Okay, it's not Jim Marquardson, it's not tennis, it's not golf. So what do? My dictionary is not big enough, so think of more sports. Baseball, football, volleyball, hockey. Is this dictionary big enough? Maybe. Try running it. Ah, son of a gun. There we go. Last line of code. Got it. Hockey is that hash right there. So that was the password. So I created a custom Python password cracker. Not too many lines of code. The hash lib is doing the heavy lifting for me. But this works just fine. How could I rewrite this code? How could I make this code better? I could create a function, def get hash. I could take a word as an input. And I could move all this stuff out if I wanted to. I could return the output. Might refactor my code a little bit. So that's how I would use a function there if I wanted to. Is this still going to work? I'll run my code. Hopefully, yeah, code still works. I just extracted the lines of code to calculate the hash into a function and returned something. So that works just fine. As far as a minimum viable product for a Python-based password cracker, dictionary-based password cracker, this works just great. So hopefully you're able to write that code, understand it, put those pieces together. It's not a very complex program, all things considered. We're using lists, we're using strings, we're using loops, we're using if-else, and our program runs just fine. So give it a shot. If your code looks different than mine, great. There's lots of different variations of this code that would work just perfectly. The key idea is that you can take all the different ingredients, variables, functions, loops, all those things, combine them together into a meaningful program that solves a problem.